Welcome to United Consciousness, where one consciousness, one being is more than just a belief. It's a movement, a global initiative that unites us all in the pursuit of peace, spiritual wisdom, and universal happiness. It's a global mission that's touching life across continents. If you have ever felt the need for connection, spiritual guidance, or just a sense of belonging, you are in the right place. Welcome to United Consciousness. United Consciousness is not just an organization. It's a living, breathing community dedicated to enhance the holistic well-being of over 3 lakh individuals worldwide. Our mission is simple yet profound. One consciousness, one being. We believe that by connecting with our higher selves and each other, we can live lives filled with purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. Together, we are building a global community that shares this vision, helping each other unlock our full potential. With the presence in over 100 countries, including Switzerland, Canada, Australia, Japan, etc., United Consciousness is here to help you thrive in this complex world. So why wait? Join us on this transformative journey. Let's create a world where peace and happiness are not just a distant ideal, but a tangible reality we can all experience here and now.
Hussein, we can start?
Yes, sir.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Pleasure and privilege to welcome all of you. I think I heard Vikrantji's voice also just now.
Namaste, Prabhakar ji.
So, what we have today is, we just now saw the brief video about United Council, and I just wanted to add my own perspective to what my experience has been about United Council for Ancient Wisdom. And I don't know whether Mohit is here in the call or not, but I would actually like to thank Mohit for introducing me to United Council for Ancient Wisdom almost 3 years back. And the first time I interacted with the team of Vikrant and others was in Jaisalmer. And it's now been almost 4 years since I've been engaging with them, interacting, and through them getting to know a whole lot of other friends, colleagues, peers, etc. What I really found interesting about the council is the passion with which they are wanting to re-establish the timeless essence of Indian wisdom, and trying to do it by linking it to modern concepts, modern philosophies, modern thought processes. And what they're also trying to do is do it in a very collaborative manner. What I mean by collaborative manner is trying to create a forum which comprises researchers, academicians, practitioners, professionals, bureaucrats, senior leaders from very, very different disciplines, whether it's from armed forces, government, corporate, academic institutes, etc. And what happens whenever we sort of meet and engage is a sort of a manthan. And from this manthan comes very, very interesting pathways through which we could actually pursue the vision and mission of the council. And one such pathway really has been this was last year when we all met up in Bikaner. It was felt that beyond what we do, beyond what we publish, why not do a monthly series and where we actually meet for about 90 minutes and discuss a topic which connects ancient wisdom to modern concepts. And today's session is actually again part of the similar pathway. The other interesting thing in this pathway is that spirit of collaboration, where each time the webinar is hosted by a very different institute. And today we have IIM Indore, and in the past we have had IIM Bodh Gaya, MDI Murshidabad, and many others. And we really have a calendar lined out for the next 8 to 10 months. And the other thing is it's very, very clear. We tend to do it on the last Saturday of every month, so there is predictability. And I personally have realized that when you have a predictable schedule, adherence to it, commitment, everything starts increasing. I would like to take this opportunity to first thank Vikrantji for giving us the opportunity. When I say us, I am also sort of stating it on behalf of my panelists today here, Himanshu ji, Shrinivas ji, and Bhawana. What we will do is, I'll just set a brief context and then we will get on to the discussion specifically. Maybe Mohsen, before we I set the context, would you want to play the videos to introduce the panelists?
Yes, sir. Can I play?
Yeah.
I feel honored to introduce and welcome Mr. H.N. Shrinivas. He is a seasoned HR professional with over 25 years of experience in leadership roles, known for his dedication to create exemplary work environments. Having held the prestigious position of Senior Vice President at the Taj Group of Hotels, where he led 4 total quality and business excellence and human resource. He played a pivotal role in building the customer-centric cultures. Its innovative employee engagement strategies earned Taj recognition as one of the top 15 companies globally by Gallup, INC, and multiple global Great Workplace Awards. His work at Taj is even immortalized as a Harvard case study for exemplary HR practices. He has also contributed his expertise to Hewlett-Packard, where he managed HR for a workforce of over 10,000 software engineers. His commitment to social impact is evident in his leadership of the relief efforts post of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks and his current involvement with Tata Trust and Tata Institute of Social Sciences on skill development projects aimed at uplifting underprivileged youths. A recipient of multiple accolades, including the Seasoned HR Professional of the Country Award and NIPM's Lifetime Achievement Award, he continues to inspire through his passion for people development and his dedication to creating positive change. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. H.N. Shrinivas. It's my pleasure to welcome and invite Ms. Bhawana Kirpal Mital, CHRO and Head of IT Admin and CSR at Hero Future Energies. She is a dynamic leader who has been instrumental in the company's transformation from a startup to one of the leading independent power producers in the renewable sector. Her visionary leadership and dedication have expanded her presence across India, London, Singapore, Ukraine, Vietnam, and Bangladesh. She seamlessly blends modern HR practices with international Indian values, driving initiatives focused on high performance standards, equal opportunity, diversity, and inclusions. She is deeply committed to empowering women in the renewable sector and actively works to make it the sector of choice, particularly for females, through advocacy and public speaking. Beyond HR, she leads the administration and IT functions and spearheads corporate social responsibilities initiatives. Further underscoring her multifaceted leadership, her career spans key roles in tractable engineering, Research Environment and Encyclopedia Britannica, where she gained deep expertise. As an active member of FICCI's HR and Women Empowerment Committees, she continues to champion gender equality. Her academic achievements include BSc from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University and an MBA from Banastali Vidyapeeth, with further leadership training at the prestigious London Business School. Her passion, strategic insight and advocacy make her a force for change in the renewable energy sector. So, Ms. Bhawana Kirpal Mital has completed 7 months course in business finance from IIM Ahmedabad. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Ms. Bhawana Kirpal Mital. I take great pride in introducing Professor Himanshu Rai. He is the director of IIM Indore. Under his leadership, IIM Indore got the Triple Crown accreditation of AMBA, AACSB and ICWIS, making it one of the 100-odd institutions in the world to have the honor. His core teaching areas include negotiation, leadership and justice. As the convener of CAT 2010, he successfully led the largest format change in the world's testing history, exceeding all global standards of testing. His profile includes a stint of over 8 years at Tata Steel India, where he played a pivotal role in developing quality system and the communication policy for the company. He sincerely believes in the power of academics to lead the change that people aspire to bring about in our society. Dr. Himanshu Rai is the chairperson of the Board of Directors Indore Management Association, chairperson of Advisory Board of Durban University of Technology Business School, South Africa, and member International Advisory Board of ESG-Aligned Graduate School of Management, France. He is on the Advisory Committee of National Commission for Women, member of High-Powered Advisory Committee on Indian Knowledge System of Ministry of Education. He provides a strategic consultancy to the Government of India in a particular, as audited programs are sponsored by different ministries and the Planning Commission of India. He also provides a strategic consultancy to the state government in the areas of restructuring strategies, HR management and employee development. An expert in the interpersonal negotiation, he provides consultancy in negotiation to individuals and organizations. He has been awarded Outstanding Management Professional Award in 2022 by Lucknow Management Association. Yoga for him is a means to balance the body, the mind, the spirit. He considers the Himalaya is a spiritual abode and is passionate about mountaineering and trekking. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Dr. Himanshu Rai. I feel privileged to welcome and introduce Mr. L. Prabhakar. He is an Executive Vice President and Head of Social Investments at ITC Limited. In this role, he oversees all social interventions of ITC focused on enhancing social and environmental capital that includes areas like natural resource management, sustainable climate, smart agriculture, social forestry, waste management, education, skilling, livelihoods, health and nutrition, sanitation and women empowerment. An alumnus of Craig Suratkal and Auxiliary Jamshedpur with 36 years of experience, he has been associated with ITC for 29 years in different capacities in human resources, primarily in agribusiness, apart from stints of FMCG, information technology and corporate. Before moving to his current role in mid-2021, he also has worked with TVS Motors for 4 years and Murugappa Group. He is currently a member of National Committee on CSR and National Committee on Water. He is also a part of the steering committee of India Sanitation Council operating under the aegis of FICCI. For last 2 years, he has also been an assessor of the ICSI National CSR Awards. In the past, he has been actively associated and held positions of responsibility with National HRD Network, CII Employers Federation of Southern India, Hyderabad Management Association and Global Compact Network India. He also has contributed to National HRD General on the theme Research and Evidence Based on HR. In 2012, he, on behalf of National HRD, worked closely with Wayne Brockbank of RBL Group and the team at University of Michigan on the Global HR Competencies Research. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. L. Prabhakar.
Thank you, Mohsin. I think many of us who have been associated with the council have now sort of got used to these videos, and compliments to the team for putting up such videos. Sometimes we wonder, is it really talking about us or somebody else? But thanks to all of you. Thank you, Shrinivas ji. Thank you, Himanshu ji. Thank you, Bhawana. But I actually would, I was just reflecting, and it's very interesting that we are, in a sense, Indore is hosting this session today. And firstly, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Himanshu. I think this will be the 30th year of Indore. It's a very important milestone. And I still remember my early days when I used to come to Indore for campus interviews per se. And from there, where it has come, I think it's a truly amazing story. And thank you for hosting. I would also like to sort of set the context by anchoring my thought on the motto of Indore, Siddhi Moolam Prabhadandanam. I think where it says the root of all achievement is management, and whether it's management of self, management of institutions that we lead, management of community, or if you look at the larger this thing, management of the country or the global world. And what is fascinating for me, and many of the audience who may not be from Indore, to sort of have a look at the logo. It's a very interesting logo, which is sort of a circle in 4 segments. And the thought process behind the logo is that the segments collectively represent that management is multidimensional and it forms an organic whole. And still interesting is that there's a segments in blue. There are 3 parts in blue, which forms 3/4 of a circle. But there's a 4th segment that opens out. And that opening out is actually indicator of a receptivity to a changing environment. Now, whilst the environment is changing, some things have remained fundamentally the same. The core, the essence remains the same. And let me first confess saying, while I've been given the honor and privilege to moderate this session, I am a student of ancient Indian wisdom. I have sort of got attracted to it relatively recently. When I used to sort of look at sustainability, ESG, etc., I think earlier I used to probably go back to the United Nations Principles of 1948, or go back to one of my favorite books called The Living Organization by Eridigius, where it actually looks at what are certain common features of companies that have survived for 100 years. And until about 3-4 years back, that is where I would anchor myself. But as I said, 4 years back, when I had a chance to interact with friends and colleagues in the council, I started realizing that the anchors are much more deeper. The anchors are much more deeper in the Indian wisdom per se. And like any lay person and an early student, I started looking at some anchors which would be very, very simple for, at least for me, to understand and reflect before we start looking into deeper aspects. And the first example that used to come to me was the whole story of Shabri. And essentially the story of Shabri, in a way, it says what is not good for you is not good for the society or the community for the others. And I think when she was doing the tasting of the beer, she was just tasting that is it really good to serve it to Lord Rama? Or I go back still further in terms of in schools, we used to hear the fable of the don't kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. And when you become too hungry, you try to kill the golden goose, and then you start losing the eggs that were getting delivered every day, so to say. And somewhere when we talk of sustainability, etc., that's what exactly it is about. Are we sort of being too greedy and not looking at long term and just looking for today? And as it started progressing, you started sort of relating to much more to the scriptures, whether it's Gitas or the Upanishads, or even scriptures like Tirukkural, etc. And you will find that many of the SDGs that we are talking of today probably have roots and anchors element-wise as well as in the overall essence per se. And in today's discussions for about 45 minutes, the intent would be is to draw upon that essence that resides in our scriptures. How have we started, or how have we sort of inculcated in our own strategies, in our own mindsets, and what's the way forward? And I'm honored to have, as I said, Himanshu, Shrinivas, and Bhawana. What I would do is we'll have a 45 minutes conversation, and audience, students who are participating, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box. We'll also open up the discussions later after 45 minutes. So let me start with probably looking at something very, very fundamental on the concept of trusteeship. Yes, Mahatma Gandhi spoke about trusteeship, but the concept of trusteeship is actually, it's revolving around the whole philosophy that all resources in the universe, they actually belong to the divine. And humans are merely caretakers. And several scriptures, including the Upanishads, have actually alluded to that. So I would probably start by requesting Himanshu ji to share his thoughts in terms of how this whole concept of trusteeship, where if I look at it from a business perspective, that businesses hold wealth in trust for society. How can this be effectively integrated or is getting integrated into modern boardroom discussions?
Yeah, so, first of all, thank you very much, Prabhakar, for that excellent foregrounding of today's conversation. Now, I will start with obviously my favorite book, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, Shlok 12, which talks about Ishtana Bhogani Vo Deva Dasyante Yajya Bhavitaha. Now, the meaning is that those who enjoy resources without giving back are, in a sense, taking something which is not theirs to begin with. And therefore, trusteeship has to become a governance principle and not philanthropy. Because many a times people believe that something has to be done for the sake of getting something out of it. So I should be engaging in CSR because it'll give me a better branding, it'll give me a better fame, etc., etc. But not looking at, say, CSR as an end unto itself. And therefore, we had that very little exchange of messages about Ten Takten Abhunjita, Yajurved, chapter 40, Shlok 1, also the first mantra of Ishopanishad. And therefore, to me, the meaning of that is that wealth is held. It is not owned. And therefore, directors are fiduciaries not only of capital, but also of consequence. More often than not, in the boardrooms, they simply ask the question, is it legal? But I think they will need to move a little beyond and also ask, is it legitimate? Is it justified? I was listening to a very interesting conversation in one of the dean's conferences where I was speaking, where Paul Pullman of Unilever, he talked about net positive. He said that it is not enough for organizations to be net zero. They should be net positive, which means they should be giving back more to the environment, to the society, than whatever it is that they're consuming. And therefore, the practical boardroom questions that I would say a modern boardroom should be asking itself is, are we extracting or are we regenerating? The second question, who bears the hidden cost of our margins? Number 3, would this decision stand an ethical scrutiny, say 20 years from now? Not today, because when you start looking at the yardstick of today, you completely forget that we are leaving behind also a world for the next generation. And I would end with the fact that governance maturity is when restraint is actually seen as a strength and not weakness. I'll stop here for the time being.
Thanks, Himanshu. I think the aspect where you said that it's not just about visibility or short term, but really in terms of legitimacy, standing the test of time. And we are very lucky to have actually Shrinivas ji, and I have a huge regard for Tata's as an organization, and where whenever we sort of discuss about trusteeship, etc., Tata's comes as a forefront. So I would like to hear from Shrinivas ji in terms of, to me, when I sort of look at, and Tata's now is a global organization, it's not just based in India, and working in different contexts, etc. What do you think has helped Tata's embrace this philosophy of trusteeship? And in a sense, if I really look at Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, could you sort of share your thoughts, perspectives on how have you experienced it in Tata's, and what do you think makes Tata such a unique organization?
You'll need to unmute yourself, Shrinivas.
You to unmute, sir. Yeah.
You can hear me now? You can hear me?
Yes, Shrinivas, we can hear you.
Okay. So let me at the outset thank United Consciousness and also the other panel members who are assembled here and the people who are on the call for sparing their time to listen to our conversations and insights. And well, to talk about Tata's, I need to go back to what the founder thought as the fundamental purpose and principle for establishing a business organization. He said society and communities and the nation are not only a stakeholder or a partner in the journey of building business, but they are central to building a business. He defined way back in 1895 three core values for Tata Group. And the first one was nation building. Anything that we do should make a contribution to the people of India and the nation. It should contribute to the well-being of this people of the country. Number two, practicing ethical and human values. He said, whatever we do, the manner of our doing business, the manner of building wealth should be fair means. It should be moralistic. It should be. It should follow certain approved standards of dharma, which is ethical values and human values, and violating them and achieving success, I think, is evil, and there is no point in even pursuing it. And number three, he said very interestingly those days in 1895 was we will achieve success in business by building strong relationships with all sections of people. What we say in the boards today, multi-stakeholder relationships. There is a committee in all the boards these days, in publicly listed boards particularly. There is a stakeholder relationship committee, and you are supposed to understand the needs and requirements of each of the stakeholders and respond creatively and create a plan, weave out a plan that integrates the needs and expectations of different stakeholders into a company action plan, and you have your clarity of delivering it, you have an execution mechanism, how you are delivering it. This he said in 1895. He said building sustainable relationships with vendors, with employees of the organization, with customers, with people who have invested money, with the key communities in which we operate, with all those people, we need to build strong relationship and we need to create value for their lives and the communities. See, those days, as he was traveling in the jungles of Bihar for establishing Tata Steel, I think somebody mentioned he worked in, I think Himanshu mentioned he worked in Tata Steel Communications, and I'm so delighted to hear that. I'm sure he would have worked with Sanjay Singh and people like that.
Yes, he was my immediate boss.
Was my very close friend. And anyway, so way back in 1895, 94, those years when he was traveling in the jungles of Bihar, he would see only few settlements, which are tribal settlements, at distances like 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers, and it's dense and thick jungle. And once he decides on the site where he should set up Tata Steel near the Dimna Lake, those days he had to get all the technical expertise and consultants from England, and he goes to England, and the first set of consultants he brings to India. I mean, J.J. Rani used to be very fond of narrating the story in all his important meetings. He said the first consultants he brought to India were Dr. Mrs. and Sydney, Miss Beatrice Webb, Mrs. Sydney and Beatrice Webb, who were Fabian sociologists. He brought them to India to conduct a social audit among the tribal settlements in the jungles of Bihar, understand their needs and aspirations, translate them into some kind of a program, particularly skill development program, which supports hiring children of these settlements into jobs of Tata Steel after a certain training to be imparted to them. So this is how the fundamental foundational principle of building relationships, of practicing ethical values, human values, and contributing something to nation building was actually brought in practice and demonstrated by Tata Steel. It was the manner and way in which one conducts business is to respect all the stakeholders. There is no point in hard bargaining with the supplier and then making him feel so uncomfortable and get a very, very competitive rate so that he posts losses and he is suffering, but he wants to continue his association with you because you are a branded company. We work towards ensuring that supplier makes good profits, dealers make good profits, employees are happy. On the board of Tata Steel those days, I think Himanshu will know, we had Dr. Saram Vishweswaraya. He served on the board of Tata Steel for more than 30 years. And very interestingly, the union president those days in 23, 24 and all that, 1922, 23, 24, he got to deal with was none other than Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. So between the two, they have created what is called a strategic plan. It is written by Sir Vishweswaraya. It is available in Tata Archives in Jamshedpur. I'm sure some of you must have seen that if you've been to Jamshedpur, which talks about how do you rise and lift the welfare of people as the central theme. People, he means community, society, employees, whoever is working with Tata Steel. He doesn't differentiate this as customer. If I do this in the short term, I get profit. If I do this in the long term, I get profit. Keeping profit as some kind of a lighthouse goal and then manipulating the rest of the context in a manner that slowly and gradually you move towards that. That was not the way, that was not the philosophy with which he worked. He said profits will happen. Profits are extremely important, undoubtedly. It helps you create wealth. It helps you to innovate. It helps you to deliver new products, create different kind of unique value to the society. All that it works. It works. It's very important. And focusing on profit is important. But there are multiple other things which enable you to make profit. Are you focusing on that? So this has been the central philosophy of Tata Group from the early days. I'll stop here and maybe a few examples.
Thanks. I think it's very interesting, Shrinivas, that you mentioned that the first people that he called to Jamshedpur were sociologists. Very often he would call the technocrats, etc. That itself is a indicator of how strong that belief and conviction was in terms of wanting to understand what the social needs is actually. And that's indeed amazing. And I don't know, for the benefit of some of our audience here, a piece of trivia, actually both Sydney and Beatrice are the people who are probably credited, or they are actually the pillars behind the London School of Economics actually. So that's something that they've been sort of, they along with George Bernard Shaw had actually set up London School of Economics. I'll now move to, we spoke about Tata's, which has a rich legacy. And we have Bhawana here. And Bhawana comes from a very, her current role is in a very different context. It's a relatively new organization, very different sector, but a sector which is becoming very, very critical from a national perspective in terms of sustainability and other dimensions. The question that I have, Bhavna, for you is, when you sort of look at the Indian scriptures, which sort of emphasize Nishkam Karma, which is selfless action, or even Lok Sangra, which is collective welfare, what's been your experience in terms of anchoring the whole approach to ESG beyond just a compliance-driven activity, but like what Himanshu ji said, it's more selfless, a mindset of selfless service. What's been your experience?
First of all, thank you, Vikrantji, for curating this series. And I think it's been some months that they have been under implementation. And after Professor Himanshu and Shrinivas, I think, let me see if I'll be able to put up right words to cater to what you asked, Prabhakar. So let me start, as Prabhakar was saying, that our organization is relatively new. We're just 13-year-old, newly incorporated renewable venture within the Hero Group. And I'll just tell, I joined as part of the new first team, inception team, and we were discussing about, as a startup happens, we were discussing about what functions, what roles and all, apart from the roles that we were hired for. And I remember the first discussions that we have with the founder, chairman, and the CEO that time was the CSR. And as as a person 13 years back, I thought, oh, it's not a mandate for us. And then I realized that the group doesn't care. Of course, mandates are important and we have to be a compliant driven organization. But if CSR is done or ESG principles are adopted beyond doing it just for the compliance sake and are taken in a manner where responsible Seva bhav is adopted by people, it actually aligns with the compliance principles but goes much beyond that. And what Professor Himanshu was saying, that they have to live long years. It's not that we do one activity and just we get out of that area and we leave that to die its natural death. The principle, if it's approached by the philosophy that we will work in societies, we'll work for communities with a larger vision. It may be a small project, but if it's long lived, it will bring a value to the people that they deserve. And again, going back to Professor Himanshu's saying that wealth is held, not owned, of course. And if we go back to the Vedas, idam namam. So this is not mine alone. If this principle is actually taken by people who are implementers or who are curators of these ESG goals and CSR policies and projects, I think we can achieve a lot. And this is what I actually have experienced in the Hero Group. ESG goals have to be anchored in long-term vital outcomes and leaders. And we always say that CSR policies or projects cannot be framed in the boardrooms. You have to be with people, you have to understand their needs, and then curate programs along with their views. Then only we will be able to get the right output and outcomes will be long-lived. I hope I'm able to cater to what you wanted to hear.
I think what's interesting, Bhavna, is irrespective of the age of the organization, you said 13-year-old organization. Ultimately, if you sort of try to drive something based on principles, and principles like what you sort of quoted in terms of principles drawn from scriptures, makes your life that much more easier, so to say. And that's what I sort of took away from you, this thing. I'll come to Himanshu ji, where you spoke about organizations. I would now probably like to hear from you more from a CEO perspective, CEO angles. The whole aspect of dharma actually means the whole aspect of righteousness, and the biggest struggle that CEOs actually face is this conflict and balance in terms of righteousness. And what's been your experience, and what does Raj Dharma mean for modern CEOs when they're trying to maximize profits at one hand, but also they need to take care of societal and well-being? And I've also sort of seen and heard you articulate this within your institution also, and you sort of have taken it outside the institution to the work that you do in the community, etc. So maybe we could look at it from two lenses, one from a CEO lens, and second, really also your own personal perspective.
Certainly. First of all, let me kind of add on to what Shrinivas ji pointed out. So I've been fortunate enough to work with Tata Steel for 8.5 years, joining as a GT, 5.5 years on the shop floor doing projects, and then 3 years in corporate communication. And one of the things that stayed with me, and I will foreground this as a segue into what I think about leadership and what we do at IIM Indore, was another statement which was always there in the Tatas, and that is, what is good for India is good for the Tatas. By the way, Ford made the exact opposite statement, saying what is good for Ford is good for America at that point of time. And this is not to kind of point fingers, but I'm talking about a certain philosophy. And therefore, one of the things that I've always held here at IIM Indore is that what is good for India is good for IIM Indore. And what is good for IIM Indore is good for me, is good for my faculty colleagues, is good for the entire IIM Indore community. So the entire concept has to start with what is it that our nation requires. So when we talk about the Raj Dharma, let me talk about, first of all, just the construct of Raj Dharma and ethical leadership. First of all, it has to be a daily practice and not something which comes out in the speeches, during the Founders Day or some annual celebration in an organization. And the question the CEOs ought to be asking themselves is, how do we embed ethics beyond policies? So, and the second important point is that they need to understand that yadyat acharati shrestha. Leaders, they shape norms. They create something called the idealized influence. And therefore, people look up to their behavior. And we keep saying that etad desh prasuta se sakasha dagda janmanaha swam charitram shikshrena prithvivyam sarvamanava. This country has produced many people who, by the sheer strength of their character, have played a role model to many others. Now, first of all, the leader has to understand, therefore, his or her Raj Dharma, and that is to have a behavior which is in line with the value system that the organization represents. And for that, they should be willing to actually accept personal inconveniences if it comes to values. It should be compassion driven. See, for example, leaders may have to take some tough decisions. You may have to lay off some people because the economy is not doing so well, or let's say you have to lay off people because the technology has made things simpler. For example, in Tata Steel, when I joined Tata Steel, we were 76,000 strong and making 3 million tons of steel. Now, with probably half the number, we would be making some 20 million tons of steel. There were layoffs. However, I don't want to get into the history at that point of time. The handshake which was offered by Tata Steel was so good that people were literally falling over each other to take it, because it was very humane. It made sure that the families of the employees who were working there were taken care of. There has to be a listening before actually deciding. And therefore, what we do at IIM Indore, I'll very quickly talk about IIM Indore now. One of the things that we have done is, in our mission statement, we have put in a word called socially conscious. We talk about being contextually relevant. We talk about being world-class, but we also talk about being socially conscious. And what we say at IIM Indore is that this is what separates IIM Indore from everybody else. We produce responsible leaders who can make inclusive and equitable decisions. And how do we do this? We do this by reflective listening. This is one of the things which is very, very close to my heart. And that is, don't listen to respond, but listen to understand. And that is my advice that I also give to the CEOs, that listen to understand, be sensitive about what you see around yourself. And coming from that, for example, we at IIM Indore decided that we are going to tackle 4 wicked problems, which we saw around us. One was income disparity. The second was urban infrastructure and challenges. The third was rural challenges. And the fourth was environment. And of course, I can talk about it later, as and when I get the opportunity. But we have done multiple things on each of these 4 issues. And to sum it all up, what I have to tell the CEOs and the boards is that, look, you have to act as moral anchors and not just silent spectators. If you see something which is happening around you, and if you can do something about it, please do. That is what compassion is. And that is how compassion is different from empathy. Compassion is some vedana. Uski vedana meri ho jati hai. And therefore, not only do I get moved by somebody else's pain, but then I do something to mitigate that person's pain. That is my message to the CEOs and the boards. I'll stop from now.
Thanks, Himanshu. I think the point that you made, listen to understand, I think while it's just 3 words, looks simple, but I think a lot of us actually struggle to sort of practice that. And most of us listen to reaffirm our own biases per se, not really to understand. And that's where the disparities start coming in. I'll move to Shrinivas ji. I'll take the other aspect, which is all about integrity and trust. And our ancient texts have also emphasized the whole aspect of Satyam. Arthashastra emphasizes that trust is the foundation of governance. Question that I had for you is, you did speak about Tata history, etc., and how Tata Steel went about doing it. Maybe if you could look at the whole aspect of integrity and trust as capital, and if you could sort of reflect it from the angle of what Tata Trust does. It's very often people think that the foundations and Tata Trust, etc., it's more about the money that they bring in, but forgetting that actually there is a core to it, and this whole aspect of doing things in a manner which is aligned to integrity. If you could actually reflect the Tata Trust journey here.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhakar. See, Ratan Tata, more recently in the last 20, 25 years, was very fond of making a statement, which I have actually written down exactly what he would say. Our businesses stand or fall by the health of its relationships and by the trust, energy, and commitment its leaders create in those relationships. So you touched on trust. So I thought I would, mention this. So he was extremely keen that leaders of Tata's follow a certain set of dharma values, ethical values, human values, which is the foundation for building trust among various stakeholders, whether it is employees or customers. And he made it, implementable. In fact, Tata's had practiced values, and there are a set of statements which were called Tata values, which are displayed in all the companies, in the notice boards, the back areas, and all that. But Ratan Tata went a step further. He said he defined what is called a Tata Code of Conduct and Values, and he said, all of you should take an examination, should read this, by heart this, take an examination whether you understood this or not understood this. And so he listed some 36 set of values, and he said, how does it unfold in various departments? What do you mean by this integrity in a purchase department? What do you mean by this in a banquets department of a hotel? What do you mean by this in a assembly line operation in Tata Motors? So how does it apply for different job roles? What it means by demonstrating integrity in what you do. He created, of course, with the help of a team of people who were put together called Tata Business Excellence Team. He created that and he distributed a booklet with his signature to everybody saying that all of you should read this, study this. Later on, many companies even introduced what is called an interactive, online program, which was launched on the LMS of most of these companies. And he made it compulsory that everybody should take this online program every year and show the certificate and then send a photocopy of the certificate to the HR department. Which means he went 2 steps further to ensure that we practice these values and build trust with all sections of people and various stakeholders. To just give you an example, after the terror attack, 3-4 days after the attack, about 50-60 people were standing outside the back gate of our hotel saying that we are all the suppliers of this hotel. And I know you're going through a major crisis, but we wanted to interact with the leadership team if you permit us, if you give us some half an hour. So all suppliers of Taj hotels were met in President Hotel at an appointed time and date with the senior leadership team. And each one of them was standing up and saying with tears in their eyes, "Sir, you don't give us any money. We trust you. For the next 6 months, we will supply whatever you want. Whenever you open the hotel, we'll wait. We'll supply. We will not take money. I know you are going through a major crisis, and you will not be able to, give us, money on time. So we appreciate that. So, and they were all, extending help. They said, anything else we can do for you. You have built such strong, you have looked after us so well. We trust you and we will do whatever you want us to do, we are willing to do. And I will narrate some more stories of, Tata Steel. I'll end by just one more example. Like, interestingly, Himanshu mentioned about VRS in Tata Steel. There was a similar situation where they had to do VRS in the plantations in Kerala. They had 20,000 employees, and in the Northeast also we had about 20,000 employees. See, there were 40,000 acres of tea in both the locations, and the plantation division was posting losses. And several proposals were given to Ratan Tata that we need to do a VRS and we need to cut the number of people there. And he would not accept all that. And then Krishna Kumar went and spoke to Tata. I think it becomes an emergency, a must-do thing, and we need to figure out a way of doing it, like you would in Tata Steel, whatever has been done. Then he said, "Okay, put up a proposal." And I was, I was the one who was anchoring the entire process those days, working in Tata Steel from Kolkata. Tata Tea from Kolkata. And I used to travel into these plantations, meet up with all the unions, CITU, CPM. And I could convince all of them about a format in which we will implement this VRS. Imagine in Kerala, convincing CPM to do a VRS and remove 4,000 people, which I succeeded in a matter of 1 month, 1.5 months. And likewise, in Northeast, Assam and Siliguri and those areas also, we worked out a scheme. Then I was all very excited, saying that I know we have a clear scheme, which is a consensus, and we did a presentation in Bombay House to Ratan Tata, Krishna Kumar and others. Ratan Tata asked me questions that had not occurred to the union fellows and kept on grilling me. These people have worked for 3 generations in this hills. What will happen to their children, their education, the families? Where will they go for medical benefit? I mean, he kept, and what will they do with this money that you put in their hands? They will spend within 6 months and money is gone. So you have not understood the human context, Mr. Shrinivas. You have made a very impressive, clever VRS proposal. The central theme of human context you have never understood. It's an emotional issue for me. Go and work backwards. Come back after 1 month. What I convinced and I had got signed off from all the unions, I could not convince Ratan Tata. I just wanted to give this example. So I'll stop here and wait for her.
Just to add over there, Prabhakar, sorry for kind of
Yeah. No, please.
But in 1998, Shrinivasji, when this Tata Code of Conduct was introduced, and R&T had asked us, we at Corporate Communications were mandated to get every employee's signature on it.
Correct.
So he made sure that everyone actually read it. And we still remember one of our employees, who was also a cricketer, was out playing a series abroad. And we had to wait for him. And he was the last person who then signed the Tata Code of Conduct. So not only was it introduced, but it was introduced with its full spirit that everyone read, sign, and follow. Yeah, back to you, Prabhakar.
Yeah. And I think, Shrinivasji, like when you gave that thing of, it's not just about doing the VRS, but in fact, even as you said, the union leaders or the families also, they also, when you look at VRS, they tend to look at here and now how much I have got it. But they also don't look at what's life after that.
Exactly.
Pushing you back to sort of think for them also and not just think about Tata. I think that's the whole essence of trust and integrity, actually. Bhavna, over to you. We sort of heard Himanshu and Shrinivas talk about ethical leadership. And this is something that gets manifested again in Gita, which sets the standards for society, or even in Upanishads. There's also the whole discourse about compassion. And Himanshu also touched upon it. And even when Shrinivas gave the example, I think when Mr. Tata spoke about it, it was compassion for his employees and their families, etc. What's your thoughts and experience? How can you build a culture where I think what was said is ethical leadership is not just a policy, but it's a practice actually. And what's been your experience? Do you see boards also imbibing Karuna-driven leadership, or is it always hard numbers, bottom line, etc.?
So, in my experience, and I'll especially talk about the current company where I've been there for 13 years. So, I think the very essence of my being there 13 years also speaks a lot about the group, the culture, the values that we have imbibed from the Chairman Emeritus, Dr. Bimal Munjal, and his teachings. So, and, I always say that, people make culture, and we always talk about culture and we think that, oh, it's the other person who will drive the culture, not me. And a lot of times people misunderstand culture and values and the whole essence of how companies emerge stronger with value driven approach, saying that, oh, it's only leadership or HR. And I'll talk about our journey here, where we've inherited the core values and ethos from the main hero group, and in our value system we have humility and respect as core values, in addition to being agile, being innovative, all that. But these are core values which we live every day, and we always say that if you actually, as an organization, if you tolerate a bad behavior, that's actually what sets the culture. That's not the good behavior, because that becomes a wrong example. And coming back to the leadership, here in our setup, the board members truly value what values should be inherited or should be taken forward as an organization, especially as a young organization that we are there. And how do you sustain that culture and that agility for years to come? So we're not planning for 2 years, 5 years, planning for, say, next 50 years. And especially a company that is committed to building or, building a planet that will be positive for future generations. We truly emphasize these aspects, and always say that you can borrow from Upanishads that tat tvam asi, that you are. And in the board, we always talk about that leaders have to be the role models. Leaders have to walk the talk. And in our context, we say leaders have to walk the green talk, because it's not that, we are a sustainable company, but our actions should be equally sustainable in all aspects. And you talk about Karuna. So Karuna and important aspect, that's again part of our culture. And secondly, for decision making, Vivek, that when you are in a not a positive situation, how do you ensure that you keep your calm and you still take an action or implement a decision that may not be cash positive in today's term, but it will actually reap benefits not only in terms of financial growth or commercials, but also creating value for everyone who gets impacted. Like Shrinivas was talking about Tata culture, and they said that, VRS, but how it will impact ahead. You need to talk about that. And that is what the spirit in our setup is, that, okay, we are there to make profit. It's a for-profit company, but how will that profit involve communities, we can see an impact there, and they have a long-term alignment with us. And in terms of what flows from the leadership and what flows from the founder chairman, I'll just give one example. The day we set up this company and the day we spoke about CSR or projects for communities, we coined a word, inclusive growth. And we said, yes, we are there to set up projects, we'll do the power generation, but we will work with communities in the area where we set up projects and think of inclusive growth, not just one action to just tick mark the CSR, or just to implement the project and we don't care about the environment and we cause harm to the environment while implementing our projects. The approach has to be really thought driven, ensuring that the flora, fauna, or the communities are not impacted wrongly. The employees also understand the core essence of why we exist and follow the leader's footsteps and contribute to, we proudly say we're greening the planet, but we have to live the essence of greening the planet. Not that I'm on my personal front, I'm doing actions which are not appropriate for the planet. And to that, we actually came out with a green code. So we have code of conduct, but in addition to code of conduct, we have a green code for people, which lays down the do's and don'ts of living a sustainable life, not only in professional arena, but also on personal front. How do they teach their children? How do they ensure that their partners or their family members also lead a sustainable life? And the community projects that we do, we have education centers for children to ensure that they do not drop out, and these are remedial classes, because a lot of times they do not get to learn what actually should be taught in the school. So we have the remedial classes, and we, in order to ensure that we go with the inclusive growth approach, we engage teachers from the communities, local communities, because then it becomes a sustainable model. We train them, and most of the times they set up the classes in their own houses. We provide all the facilities, and this model has, we have been, I think these remedial class centers, we've already touched more than 100 across the country where we have the projects. And this is really a sustainable model because we are running those centers. It's need-based with the community's participation, but it is sustainable, and we've seen the results, positive results where students have gone ahead and got admission in regular schools. But this all cannot be driven if leaders don't buy the idea or they don't drive this within the company, within the entire setup. So any company, it's not about us or, everywhere. So this philosophy of Seva, Karuna, and taking decisions with the right Viveka on, I think that is essential, and that I've been experiencing, and in fact, I'm enjoying the entire experience of this. Thank you.
Thanks,
Prabhakar.
Bhawana. Yeah, we will probably be slowly getting into the question and answer session. But before we get into that one last round, probably quick and brief responses. I'll start reverse now, Bhavna, with you.
Sure.
while we've spoken about what we've been doing, how do you see the future unfolding, and how can we actually sort of draw lessons from our scriptures, etc., to deal with the future unfolding challenges?
See, I'm very positive about future folding very well, and I compare it with when I started my corporate journey 22 years back, and from the times there to the times where we are today, uh, the entire focus, thanks to the government policies also, that some things are driven by because of those policies, but in general, there's a lot of awareness about the value system, even the ancient values that actually have been present in the country, and we sometimes keep on forgetting and then remembering them on and off. But I think the current generation and even the school system has been emphasizing on this, and see how yoga came back to India in a different form. Earlier, I remember when I was a kid, I knew about yoga, but it was not evidently seen in society. But now it is so much evidently seen. The principles of ESG. And if I talk about, because that's one of my favorite topic is gender parity, female representation in the workforce. Lot of facilities and lot of amenities that organizations and I'll say any institution is offering to people to have a, I'll not say work-life balance, because I always feel it is always work-life blend. You can never have a balance, because a lot of times both the aspects of professional, personal blend into each other. But the era that we are in, and when you go to our younger generation, especially this generation Alpha and all, and I'm very much convinced that I hope we will have a country that will be free from all the chaos of religion, caste, creed, color, anything, and we'll have. I think, and I'm very hopeful. I don't know if I'll be there after 20 years, but I see that it'll be a country and or corporate setups or institutional setups, educational setups that will provide equitable opportunities, that will have a blend of ancient wisdom along with modernity, and that will have an infrastructure that generations will actually thrive on. And that is why today, and thanks to Vikrantji that he has started this initiative, it's important that we institutionalize these actions so that people or the younger generation understands what we possess and how we can take it forward and drive things in a positive manner, so that we build a better society and a better nation.
Thanks, Bhavna. Shrinivas ji, since you're here, I can't resist but asking this question. You spoke about the terror attack in Mumbai, and I think Himanshu ji also mentioned where you put the country before the corporation, you put the corporation before yourself. That day, none of the employees of Taj actually left. Even if they had the option of leaving, they could have left the place, but none of them left because they believed in caring for their guests. They saw it a much larger purpose. It was not just the guests, but also in terms of the national perspective also that would have come into play. What do you think made it happen? Means, yes, values, culture, etc., but getting the entire hotel's team there that day to sort of instinctively and without any sort of reservations act the way they acted, what do you think was the secret behind it?
You'll need to unmute yourself, Shrinivas.
Yeah, thank you for asking this question, before I proceed to answer this, let me compliment Bhawana ji for the spirit and energy which she is bringing into her job. And it was very inspiring to listen to what she said, and the force with which she is moving ahead, implementing some of the fundamental principles and values that the company, is trying to enforce in the organization. Now, responding to your query, you see, I have noticed in the manner in which, particularly Jyoti Tata and also Ratan Tata, they were conducting business and conducting themselves and interacting with people. Two things were very clear. They had a pursuit of deeper knowledge, and they would listen carefully, like rightly mentioned by Himanshu ji. See, this world has produced a large number of people who can speak well, who are very clever, and who can come up with clever models and all that. But it gives us very, very few people who are capable of deep listening and understanding. And see, if that one person who can listen to you fully and understand you is with you as a friend, I think it's a huge achievement in this world today. It's very difficult to get such people. Now, coming to Jyoti Tata and Ratan Tata, they had this composure, they talk very less. And there was a deeper observation, listening, and understanding they would practice. And see, like in our, Shastras, they say, Gnana Vairagya Siddhyartham. That means, bless me with deep knowledge and selflessness, detachment. So, deep knowledge, which means going into deeper levels of human consciousness and looking at the world, what is happening around you, with a sense of wonder and curiosity, automatic solutions will emerge. And they are deeper solutions. I mean, they are permanent solutions. It is not patchwork solutions. So I could see in them some kind of a saintly approach. And they were here, but at the same time, they were detached. So if you look at terror attack, when this gentleman came and asked me, Mr. Dr. Deshpande from Harvard Business School, how do you, exactly the question that you asked, how do you explain this? There were 500 employees inside the hotel, 500 odd employees, and not a single person left the hotel. On the contrary, some of the people who were outside entered the hotel, risking their lives. And what kind of HR strategies and approaches you follow like this? He started. I said, for now, stop. This doesn't happen by my following one clever HR strategy. You see, it will be ridiculous and very frivolous on my part to claim HR has done this. It is not so. It is the demonstration effect of generations of great leaders. You see, people like Jamshedji Tata, Jyoti Tata, Ratan Tata, they had an attitude of selflessness and commitment to nation, and kind of whatever they earn, a good part of it should go back to society was the central theme of Tata Group. You see, give back to society. 65% of Tata companies are owned by Tata Trusts. Dividends go to Tata Trust. 65% of all the dividends that are posted in all Tata companies worldwide goes to Tata Trust, and they are public charitable trusts. They're used for welfare activities for the people of India. They build hospitals, they build educational institutions, and that selflessness. When the project which I'm anchoring, Indian Institute of Skills, we had one brief meeting with Ratan Tata, and I suggested in that meeting that we'll call it Tata Institute of Skills. I could see a strain on his face, and he said, no. Why do you say Tata? It should be called Indian Institute of Skills. We have an Indian Institute of Science. I've repeatedly requested TISS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, to change Tata name. What is so great about Tata? We are here, we are committed. This nation has given us so much. We have grown and expanded. We are making profits because of this nation and the people of this nation. And it is our duty to give back something to them. And you want to put your name there? Don't do that. Be humble. And that reminds me of another story. Sorry, I'll take 1 or 2 minutes more with your permission. I meet this Saint Mata Amritanandamayi once in a while. She's a very, very, very evolved saint in my judgment. And when I was sitting in front of her one day and having conversation with the Vice Chancellor of Amata University, and Dr. Venkatrangan, who was the Dean of San Diego University of UCAL San Diego, and he was also there with me. I asked her, we try our level best to be humble. We try our level best to be non-egoistic and all that. But, in pursuit of our jobs and, careers, somewhere the ego comes in. Tell me, how can I be humble? She gave a broad smile, like always she does, and looked at me deeply in my eyes. And she said, what is there to be proud of? That was her answer. What is there to be proud of? I mean, what an answer, I think. It's so powerful. So, in the terror attack, after the attack, when we went and stood there, and Ratan Tata and various others were there, we all went inside when this Colonel Abhay Gupta came and told us, General Abhay Gupta, that we have killed all. Understand what has happened, but I would make a statement after I have learned what is going on here and what has happened. But they would force him. He came back. He stood there. All the hundreds of journalists facing him, he made three statements. Number one, well, they have hurt us, but they can't beat us down. India is a strong nation. Tata's is a good company. They can't beat us down. Number one. Number two, whoever has been associated with Tata's and Taj Hotels will continue that association. There will not be even a slight disturbance. If an employee has worked for one day before this terror attack, he will continue to work in the hotel and nobody will lose jobs and nobody will be laid off. No suppliers will be stopped. No, we are going to open the hotel within the next 1 week. And number three, he said, I'm going to do a rehabilitation and relief program, implement it immediately for all the victims of the city of Mumbai. There are some 500 families. And one of my colleagues was standing next to him, whispered in his ear, I could hear that, sir, we are in HNS is in touch with the police headquarters. We are getting all the numbers, how many have been affected, and we don't have exact numbers. And Ratan Tata looked at him menacingly, so what? So, what are you trying to tell me? Do you realize how much Bombay has given us? Do you realize how much this country has given us? And they are in pain today. And you want to count your money? Whatever it takes, we stand by them when they're in pain. This is my city and they are my people. See, these statements that a leader makes, you can never forget all your life. And
it's actually very, very powerful.
A larger purpose, commitment to practice dharma, commitment to compassionate capitalism, commitment to the people of the nation is so strong. It comes out in every step. So I told Deshpande. So this has been a demonstration. Of course, we have done some good work in HR department. I don't want to elaborate that, but that is some other day. I'll tell you. I told him, this is primarily 95%, 97% impact is this demonstration of leadership. That is Gnana Vairagya. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Himanshu, I know we are really running short of time, but I still would want to ask you this thing. How do you as an individual actually work towards this balance? I know you have your work, your commitments, etc., but a lot of us struggle to attempt that balance. It will be very interesting to learn as to how do you sort of follow this lifestyle of balance, and how do you sort of keep yourself rejuvenated and energized? Because then only you'll be able to.
Bhavna mentioned something which I completely kind of endorse, and my OB colleagues are not going to like that. But I don't think there's a concept called work-life balance. I mean, you don't leave your work when you go home. You don't leave your home when you go to work. What I do believe in is mindfulness of being in the here and now. So when I'm at work, I'm completely there. When I'm home with my family or friends, etc., then I'm completely there. And a couple of things help me. Like, Ma Amritanandmai, the answer that she gave, Shrinivas was talking about it. The answer that I give when somebody asks me, how can I become humble? I say, go to the Himalayas. Just do a trek in the Himalayas. The moment you see the Himalayas, you will become humble because you'll realize how small you are in front of this large universe. So one of the things that keeps me both spirited and grounded is my mountaineering. And I was, of course, extremely fortunate to be taught mountaineering by Bachendri Pal, the first Indian woman to climb Mount Everest. And that keeps me humble. The second part, and this is a question many people ask me, that how do you manage to write columns, climb mountains, jump from the sky, and obviously serve the Indian Institute of Management Indore. My secret sauce is I'm a very selfish person. I spend time only on those things which I truly love, and I take out time for them. So, for example, I don't have a TV connection. I don't have a satellite TV connection because I realized that I did not want to know what the nation wanted to know. I was very sure what I wanted to know. And what I want to know, I read it in the newspaper. If I want it immediately, I go to the Twitter. So one element is to remove the distractions. I'm not saying that's a universal truth and you should take away the TV, etc., but remove the distractions from your life. Then second, figure out what is important and make sure that you are spending time on that. For example, I will not sleep till I have exercised for an hour, till I have read at least 20 pages of a book, and till I have written 500 words, even if those words are garbage and cannot be published. But this is a discipline that I have brought into my life. And one of the things, or rather two, I have to make it two, would be my message to everyone. Do take care of your health. Because remember one thing, a healthy mind can reside only in a healthy body. Our entire Yoga Shastra talks about that. Swastha sharir mein hi swasth mastish ka vaas ho sakta hai, and therefore taking care of your health. And I'm not trying to propound a yoga. I practice and teach yoga, but whatever works for you, make sure that you're doing that, you're taking care of your body. The second thing is read. And read, again, whatever. I'm not saying read Sanskrit scriptures like me. That's my interest area. That's your interest area. But whatever it is that you read, why? Because books take you to places that you would otherwise not go to. Makes you meet people who you may otherwise not meet. And make you feel the emotions that you may otherwise not feel. And therefore, once you read a book, you embark on a journey which can be both humbling as well as learning, particularly learning more about yourself. And therefore, the first thing that everyone needs to do is to understand who they truly are, understand what their true identity is, not associate their identities with their designations, not associate their identities with the roles that they're playing, but associate it with something deeper, aham brahmasmi. Associate it with being a part of this universe. And the moment you start doing that, start feeling joyful because you know that you're a part of this larger universe. And universe is beautiful. Like what Bhavna was saying, that she's very hopeful about the future. I'm extremely hopeful and optimistic about the future. I do not buy the fact when people say ki is generation ko ye nahi aata, ye generation aisi hai. No. Look at the statistics. This generation drinks less, smokes less, exercises more, and is more spiritual. And when I look at my students, I totally believe that this is not just anecdotal evidence, but this is real hardcore evidence. And therefore, if one can do all of this, I think you can, through this mindfulness, by focusing on your areas of interest and by making sure that you're taking very good care of yourself and you're self-aware, you can be very happy and balanced.
Thank you, Himanshu. Audience must be wondering, why did I ask a question which is more related to individual? And it was deliberate from my side because what you spoke about at an individual level is also right at an institutional level. And the corporate has to be mindful, corporate has to be reflective. And if corporates are not healthy enough to exist, how will they actually add value for the society? So that's the lesson for me there. Mohsen, are there any questions from the audience? The only request I would have, whoever is having a question, if you could be very brief. And if it's a question for any specific panelist, you may please mention that.
People can write in the chat box also if they want to write questions.
Yeah.
And Mohsen, can people unmute at their will?
Yes, sir.
If there are no question, I was thinking to ask this from Shrinivas ji. We heard many things about Tata Group's response during COVID. If briefly you can reflect something about that also. You may need to unmute.
Automatically gets muted. Okay. So Tata Group has what is called a National Disaster Management Committee, and when I was there, Mr. Muthuraman was the chairman of that committee, and I was also a member. You know, there were about 15 people. I was also a member, and whenever there is a tsunami and all that, and subsequently this, particularly during COVID, a substantial amount of money was released from Tata Trust for this COVID. And we were asked to implement a plan, a detailed plan across the country in different locations, and make a presentation to chairman and get it cleared those days. And I was not there in service during COVID period. I had retired by then, but this is what I hear. And whether it is that PP, what is that equipment that was being supplied during those days, and 27 hotels of Taj Group was converted into COVID rehabilitation centers. And the amount of work that we did, 1,000 employees and managers of Tata Group was kind of brought on board to go to different locations to do COVID rehabilitation work. 1,000 employees. And I hear that later on it increased. The second wave of COVID, there was 4,000 people who were working on COVID rehabilitation. And Tata Group has, with between Tata Tea and Tata Steel, Tata Motors, and various other companies, about 25, 30 hospitals. The doctors were all pulled into action to work on rehabilitation of COVID. Tata's played a major role in responding to COVID and managing the crisis. You know, working closely with Indian Institute of Medical Research, vaccines and all that, distribution of that. A major role was played by Tata's in addressing this COVID crisis and extending help.
Prabhakar, you'll have to unmute yourself.
This time it is Prabhakar.
There's a question by Avinash Sharma ji. I would request Himanshu ji to take the question. I think what he's trying to ask is, if say we want to follow the type of principles, ethos that Shrinivas ji has spoken about in Tata's, etc. But it's easier said than done. You would face challenges, etc. How do you overcome that challenges if you want to follow that?
Yeah, I'll just reply that in 2-3 sentences. So once you introduce incentives, rewards on one side and punishment on the other, and you strictly follow with an objective lens, it starts working. It doesn't work 100% perfectly. I agree with him. What he's saying is right. But it works 95%, 90% perfectly, which is what we need to achieve. You know, nothing in any collective human endeavor becomes 100% perfect. You know, it's a dream. So we incentivize. See, I remember a case where a room boy in a hotel, somebody had left a necklace in the room, and he could have taken it if he wanted to, but he brought it and handed it over to the department, housekeeping department. That afternoon itself, his photograph was on the notice board, and we appreciated, and he was rewarded and all that. And somebody stretched one extra mile to keep the customer happy who was struggling with some problem, and it was immediately recognized. And somebody who violated the rule, for instance, one MD of a company violated, and Ratan Tata Finance. And Ratan Tata went to the press and did a press conference accepting responsibility for the mistakes that have happened in Tata Finance, for whatever you want to call it, fraud or misappropriation. He said, all the shareholders of Tata Finance are safe. I am committing myself to reimburse whatever, to ensure that money is safe and employees are safe. But the top leadership team, which was involved in this fraud, all of them will go and they will not work with Tatas because they've broken fundamental code of conduct of Tatas. So punishment, there is a demonstration effect. Everybody is looking at this punishment, and they understand what he means by code of conduct. By implementing such tough measures, gradually, that culture spreads in the company.
Okay, so
I would probably ask you.
I'll add on to it. Prabhakar asked me. At two levels. One, the institutional level. When I came into academia after working with Tata Steel, I used to invite my boss, who was also my mentor and my local guardian, Sanjay Singh, that Shrinivas spoke about, to talk about ethics. And I still recall the first time when he came in 2008 to the IIM that I was in, the title of his PowerPoint was "To be ethical and to be in Delhi." The title itself was very telling that, how do you be in Delhi and yet be ethical? And it's a very fascinating story where he takes you through, how Delhi is the city which was never destroyed. And many people attacked it, but they never destroyed the city. They destroyed a part of it and built another part of it as a capital, etc., etc. And why it is the center, of not just power, but also other things. And what he used to say was that if you have your red lines drawn very clearly, that this is something we will not do, then it becomes easier. The challenge happens if you violate one of your red lines, because then the moral slippery slope is too steep. It's very steep. You don't know where you will stop once you start slipping. And therefore, the lesson is that whatever value systems you have, stick to them. Stick to them like glue. Now, how can an individual do it? I would say by developing courage. In the absence of courage, you cannot practice any other value system. When Arjun started shivering in Mahabharata, looking at who he was going to fight, Krishna admonished him by saying, Kshudram hridayam daurbalyam tyaktam uttishta parantapa. Parantapa was the word that he used for Arjun, and that is slayer of enemies. And Krishna was not talking about the enemies that were in front of him. Krishna was talking about the enemy within, which was the fear. The fear of a self-defeating belief system, a fear of failure. Many people they want to pursue the right path, but they are afraid if they have enough resources to manage their life, if they pursue the right path. All I would suggest to these young people is that, if you can differentiate between your need and your desire, you will realize that you have enough. You will always have enough sansadhan. You'll always have enough resources. Like what Mahatma Gandhi said, that this universe has got enough to satisfy every man's need, but this universe will never have enough to satisfy even one man's greed. So can you do that? Two, can you get over this fear of failure by understanding that, look, if you are trailblazing, you will fall, you will stumble. A lesson that I've learned from a mountaineering. Simply because you failed in one or two things does not make you a failure. You become a failure the day you stop trying. And therefore, develop the courage inside yourself. And remember that hard work in life is necessary, but it is not sufficient. Beyond that, you need to have patience, perseverance, resilience, grit, that even if you fail, fall, stumble, you continue getting up and walking towards a path that you have chosen for yourself. Charai veti, charai veti.
Thank you. That's so perfectly said. I just wanted to quickly respond to a query by Dr. Juneja. How can compassion move from a CSR obligation to a core business value? I think all the examples that either Shrinivas ji or Bhawana quoted actually was illustrating that. And if I were to sort of summarize it, what they were all trying to say, and that's how it gets integrated to business value, a realization that businesses cannot succeed in societies that fail. And I think whether when HNS spoke about getting those sociologists, it was realized that I cannot have a steel plant unless I take care of the society where the steel plant is going to come up. Or when Bhawana mentioned about when they were setting up the new manufacturing locations to look at what can be done for the society. I think that's very, very powerful. I know we are sort of 5 minutes beyond. I'll quickly, I dare not attempt to summarize what the panelists have said, but I would share my key takeaways. I think for me, my 5 key takeaways was one, this whole aspect, and which I'm calling it as 4 C's: character, compassion, connectedness, and conviction. I think I saw this coming very, very consistently in all the 3 speakers' thoughts. The second takeaway for me was what Bhavana actually mentioned, the blend of Seva, Karuna, Vivek, and Bhava. And how when you sort of put it all together, it sort of fits into what today we call as a nice strategy per se. So you can have all these elements in a strategy, and that's how you drive ESG. What Himanshu ji said, listen to understand. I think very, very powerful. And essence of ESG, if you really ask me, is listening to understand and then framing your strategies based on Seva, Karuna, Vivek, and Bhava. The other one that really was very powerful for me was like what Shrinivas ji quoted, what is there to be proud of? And I think it's so deep, and thank you for sharing that. And last but not the least, I think if there is one single word that sort of captures everything what we can do as an individuals and as corporates, I think it's about mindfulness, what Himanshu ji mentioned. So thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights. And Vikranji, any comments from your side before we sort of close the session?
Yes, no, it's amazing learning experience. I have written almost 4 or 5 pages. So it's mindfulness, and as they say, Shubh Labh should come from Shubh means and should go to Shubh means back. So that's very heartwarming. Thank you very much, Raisa, for hosting this whole program. Thank you. I am Indore also for hosting it. Thank you, HNS sir. Thank you, Bhavna ji. And Prabhakar ji, so phenomenally you conducted everything. It's heart-touching.
And I think
the bliss.
Thank you to the entire back-end team of United Council, which actually coordinated and put it up, and they sort of conducted it so seamlessly. Thanks to all of them, and thanks to all the people who have actually logged in on a Saturday to listen to the esteemed panelists, and really appreciate you participating. And I'm sure there's learning for all of us to take it forward.